Welcome back to 33 Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Michael Abney, and today I'm joined by Dominique, founder of Employer Wellness Group. Dominique, welcome to the pod. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me. Enjoying this weather.
I can't wait to dive into the conversation. But before I do, I just want to let you know, what stood out to me when we had our initial conversation was about your mission and how it's not focused on just traditional wellness trends. What you're focused on is workers who have been forgotten, the one that carry the years of repetitive strain, and the ones whose nervous systems have been running on hot for way too long. Ones of those that do not get spa days, they get overtime. And you've said healing and strength and resilience are built. They're not outsourced. So let's begin today where I always begin our podcast with, and let you share what transformation that you are in the middle of right now.
Right now, I'm just really mission driven. So I'm really in the moment of making connections and really allowing the connections not determine where we go, but our next project, right? Like I live in Los Angeles. So right now we're all a lot of buzz about the Olympics. Olympics is like our peak wellness, right? We watch these people compete internationally, and part of us wishes or dreams that we could be there, right, at that moment. So, really working right now, there's an initiative working with the youth for getting them engaged with the Olympics one way or another. So, right now, we're just kind of coming together, different organizations who are just really taking it upon themselves to work with the city and really push that forward for at-risk youth or inner city or homeless. So seeing how we can go ahead and just turn that around.
Yeah. What was the spark that made you want to work with these particular types of, groups of folks that are, you know, that have forgotten, left behind, not noticed? Like, where did that come from in what it is that you're building?
I want to say it came from very young. I was raised in a family business. And so at the age of 10, I was tending to customers, taking care of inventory and doing things that the average 10-year-old doesn't do. Right, and then just seeing how many hours go into having a business, the misperception if you have a business, you must be rich. It's like, no, apart from it, but it's taking responsibility for your own livelihood. And so there's a different kind of pride in that when you have the ability to make your own hours and yeah, the ability to close if you want to close for a day off. And so there's just so much that comes from that. And so I see that. And then I saw my mom, unfortunately, she got sick at the age of 35 in the family business working those 12-hour days some days, right? So I seen burnout firsthand, and then I've seen it from all my students. When I was a yoga instructor, I wasn't getting the average yogi, that stereotypical yogi. I was getting average people like nurses and doctors and pilots and event planners and teachers and just people who were looking for ways to relax their mind, relax their body. They would fall asleep from the exhaustion that they were just carrying. And the moment that they finally had silence is when they release and were allowed to sleep. So they felt safe enough to do so. And so I'm just noticing this trend. And I would tell people what I do is like, oh, I need that. And that's like always the first reaction. Oh, I need that. Average people. And so it's just really, I see the need. No one's filling the need. And people try, there's attempts, but
But
it's
this
not there.
particular niche, yeah, as only you can because you have the perception of that. So as you're building this, are you finding it difficult, or are you falling into those traps too? Like, because this is physical, right?
Mhm.
I remember when I had my physical business of the hair, especially with the hair salon, because at the beginning, not only did I cut hair and answer the phone and all the different things, but I was also cleaning up and putting this. There was so much physicalness to it
Yes.
that that was just the norm that you had to do before you could actually do the thing that you do. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
it does take a toll. So kudos to you for like looking out for people that need it the most, honestly. But what have you noticed about yourself as you're building this for people that you're serving? about you? Like, what have you had to let go of? What have you noticed, like, falling away from you or no longer works for you?
In the end, I've felt burnout firsthand, and it's funny because I worked corporate for years, and I didn't feel burnout through corporate. I felt burnout when I became a health practitioner. And so when I was doing these yoga classes, I was driving around, working with different people, listening to all their stories. And so there's like a spiritual and emotional drainage in addition to the physical that you mentioned. And I was doing like at one point 10 classes a week. And so right before a class, I just passed out and popped on my bed. And I woke up like 2 hours later, missed my class, and I was like, okay, I think I'm burned out. Like this is the burnout that people are talking about when you just crash. And so that's when I had to take it back. Like even though I'm in this health profession and wellness, I'm still getting burned out. So I took it back and then I started reevaluating like what's worth my time, what's worth my energy, what can I commit to today, and stop looking at life as this huge picture that's complete. That I need to get to this point, and I know it's like piece by piece. I'm putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, and the puzzle may never ever be finished. It's like a puzzle that's going to go on for eternity. And I'm not sure how these pieces are gonna work, but today I have a meeting and I'm gonna do that meeting, and or today I have
Yeah.
time, I'm gonna answer all those emails. And so not feeling like I have to do everything all the time, because that's also a trap, the productivity wheel that we put ourselves in. And so it's cultural. It's a really big thing in
Yeah.
our area. If you're not being productive, then what are you
You're
doing with
not
your life?
It's connected to value. It's connected to value. Through I totally get what you're talking about there. Like, I grew up in that same sort of vibe, and it's still to this day, I have to check myself to make sure that I'm not doing something just because it's inside that story. Because part of me loves it too. I love being physical. I love walking and, you know, I have to be really mindful of it because I work from home most of the time now and I'm doing this. And so, make
Yeah.
sure I do get my walks, but then there's also just life, taking care of yourself, all of the stuff you have to do. You have to make sure where your headspace is before you kick into that. But I really want to get really clear so people have a context of exactly what your company does, what you do inside of that, and how that actually came about.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And so what I do is I work with business owners, organizations, anybody who does very physical or mental demanding work, which I guess everybody at one point can say that their job is like that because it's just sometimes even if it's repetitive and it's still compounded strain on the body. It's compounded years of just doing the same routine. And so I go in and I work with their employees, I work with their managers, and I really bring a different perspective on wellness where it's not just, it's not a woo woo thing and it's not a reactive thing, but what can we do to help ourselves avoid future pain, avoid future medications, avoid future surgeries, ideally, right? Because that was a huge thing coming from all the students who were coming into my class. Like, I would see their posture and like, oh, well, no, I need surgery. I already know. The doctor told me I have a scheduled date. And I would just really zone in and focus on those areas, and they'd be, like, walking out straight, and they're like, "You mean I just have to stretch?" I was like, "Yeah, you really just need to consistently develop a routine of stretching. It's not like you stretch a rubber band once and that's it. You gotta continue to do it, and it's gonna be the rest of your life, but in the end, you're doing something to help you, so it's not a burden. It's good." And so just really getting that mentality of these things aren't just like, oh, I have to do this now. It's more like I get to do this. I get to have mobility. I want to keep my mobility. I want to keep my
Yeah.
strength. Exactly. How good does it feel? It's like when you just finally get to stretch, right?
So
And
is
just
yoga a
change.
part of it? Like, what are the modalities that you use?
Well, yes. I mean, yoga is a practice, and some consider it a religious practice. And so I really try not to do yoga per se because it is tied to some spiritual poses or tied to gods. And I just wanted the secular. I felt what it was like to not do yoga. I have been doing yoga since I was 12 at one point or another. Like just not the practice, just the stretching. And so I was like, I'm just gonna separate the 2 because I don't want people to get hung up on
Okay.
that word. And
Yeah.
I want you to stretch. I want you to meditation. Meditation is still it doesn't have to be yoga, meditation's in the Bible. Meditation's in a lot of books because it's so important. It's like just how are we meditating? So I do meditate a little bit different than the new age where they want you to empty your mind. I was like, the mind is not made to empty. Like in my perspective, the mind is made to continuously go. It's just how are we going to train it where to go? And that's where we put into practice our daily practice. Like, I'm going to train my brain to go this way because it always wants to go that way. So it's like, no, I have the power over my mind. It's just taking that moment to pause and redirect it. So doing that in the workplace too, I've worked in toxic environments where people just their mind does not allow them to enjoy just even the moment. And so sometimes it stops at the top, management. So if I could change the perspective of management, it trickles down to all the
It
employees. And
does.
then they're looking forward to going to work. We can have
Yeah.
fun, we can banter, we can joke. And then ideally working with executives who don't have the ideal time, or if they do have time, they spend it in other recreations, right? Or with family. But it's like we can still do this without you feeling like now I sacrifice 2 hours a week. It can be something you just incorporate into your daily living.
Okay, that makes total sense. I just wanna make people have a sense of it because there's so many different everybody's got different perceptions about
Yeah.
all of it, and you're right, some of it is connected to how we word things or whatever it is. I just like kind of like walking through a minefield sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's us and the body we inhabit and making it or working with it and not having the work or the money making overtake or like the vehicle that it's coming through. You know, I
Yes.
think I think that's what you're for me, I've had to learn that the hard way several times.
Even more so now that we have social media and we're just exposed to so much content. And it's like I've gotten caught up in it as well. And in the end, I'm like, I'm just wasting my money. I'm just wasting my time. I need to redirect. And that's okay too. It's just
Yeah.
coming back to your base. What is your base? What are your principles? What is your foundation? And if you don't know what that is, well, that's where you start. It doesn't mean, oh, well, I don't know. I'm just going to continue doing what I do. It sounds like you need to do some self reflection, find out what your foundation is. What are your
Yeah.
basics?
Yeah.
But still being of service. Right. So I think
Yeah.
that's a little bit what our society is missing too, is people are just so burnt out. And it's just, I'm so tired that my time has now become so valuable that I just need to take care of myself now. And so something that was supposed to be like a self love turned into a little bit, it went sideways where people just think about themselves now and they're comparing. And it's like, well, I don't get all that. It's like, you don't need all that. We're just we get caught up in this consumerism in all aspects. It's like, come back to the foundation of what you actually need for yourself, not what so and so thinks you need. And I don't share my life with very many people, which allows me to keep all outside influences and opinions and perceptions outside,
Yeah.
because my thoughts are my original thoughts. And if I do need advice or assistance, I know who I can go to for certain things. Ideally, I go to my husband for most things and all things. We go to God first, but then it's like, okay, I just need that one more perspective. But if you have that foundation, then you always have a baseline.
When did you realize this? When did you realize that burnout wasn't just a personal thing? It was like structural. Like what was that moment?
I think, I don't know if it was ever like a moment. I think it was just a series of stories, just hearing
Okay.
people's stories, hearing about their work, oh, my work at this, because when studying this, I did go into Ayurvedic Western medicine and I found out that their doctor's appointments are 2 hours long. And I was like so upset because I go in for like my physical once a year and I'm in and out in 10 minutes. You look healthy, you're fine, go on. And so I'm like, well, what consists of a 2-hour appointment with the doctor? And they go into your personal life, they go into your business life, and they go in, what is stressing you out right now? They ask you these questions because they know that it all determines your health. How are you responding to each one? And so I was like, okay, I guess that might have been the light
That's really
bulb.
weird though, right? Because normally they're 2 or 3 minutes. Like when you're, and that's even if you could get into a doctor, because most of them, like I've got a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and I got a call this morning. It was like, well, it's not really with a doctor; it's going to be with a nurse practitioner every other time moving forward because of insurance or
Just so
some.
crowded.
Yeah, but
I kinda stopped
yeah,
going because I was like, what am I paying for? I don't get it. It's a little bit
yeah.
about taking your health back too as part of the process.
I had an experience with an Ayurvedic practitioner. God, when was that? It was something with I was dealing with like back issues, lower back issues. But it was he did acupuncture, and he basically told me that that was the beginning of me understanding about how my diet was affecting everything in a very negative way. And it
Yes.
was my liver was inflamed, and turns out I did do what he said, but then, life happened. You go right back to your routine until you really become hyper aware of it. It wasn't until I
Yeah.
was in a doctor's office one time looking at a screen and going, seeing this red flashing thing going, you have fatty liver disease. And I was like, yeah. I asked her about it. She's like, oh, everybody's got that. I'm like, why is it flashing and saying it's stage 4? And she goes, well, you just got it really bad, but like 80% of the people have it. The population has it. And she never said anything about anything else about it.
Treating
And I
it or
like, no. And I literally blurted out, like, oh, you don't have a pill for that. And she just like turns around at me. I'm like, yeah, she did have a pill. But anyway, that awareness, that red thing, that was for me. I went home and I figured it out. And about six
yeah.
months later, I stopped sugar and changed things. It was like at the right time. I was ready to hear it then, I guess. I think we kind of all have to be somewhere in that range that we don't look at it as a patch, or especially when we're younger, we think we're invincible, and we don't
Yes.
understand like the cost of. Yeah. What do you think the cost of ignoring our strain and our nervous system? What do you think that is?
I think the cost,
That
like,
most people don't see.
the extreme cost is cancer, autoimmune diseases, depression, anxiety. Those are the extremes. If you've gotten to that, I know mainstream makes it seem like, oh, you have depression, just take a pill. But if you have depression, that's an extreme, right? And same thing with anxiety and cancer and autoimmune. Now, on the other end, it's not just about eating healthy. It's not just about your mental, which mental wellness is coming out. So it's great. But it's not just about that either. It's about your spiritual. And I know some people battle with the idea of, do we have a spirit, don't we? And I've gone through that. I went through my philosophy classes. And in the end, to ignore the spirit is detrimental to your illness. Like that's a
Yeah.
you getting cancer, you getting autoimmune diseases is a consequence of you ignoring the fact that your spiritual health is not on point, and you're not doing anything to build that muscle because it's a muscle. Your brain is a muscle. Your heart is a muscle. And so what are we doing on a daily basis to build our multidimensional body? It's not just a physical. So lower back could be a physical, and it was nutrition, it was internal, liver. It could also be
Hmm.
emotional.
It
And
was.
so to
And
discover, see, in the end, if we don't take care of that emotional trauma, that that unfortunate tension that from that moment in time gets stuck in our bodies.
it
And
does.
whatever was tensed and whatever was hurt is now just unfortunately in a way rotting internally, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing with medicine. They make it seem like you can't reverse things. It's like, okay, this is it. This is the road you're on, but you can reverse things. Sometimes it's God's will, but sometimes it's not. But in the end, are you going to not just take ownership? Because it is our temple. We are responsible for it. What we put in, what we visually watch, what we listen to, whether we take walks in nature or a walk in the smoggy city. I guess some people will say, well, at least you're walking. But if you have a choice,
Yeah. Where do you think where do you think our, there's just so many factors that go into the question I'm getting ready to ask you. So, like, life's happening, there's survival, we got to pay the bills, we got to do this, we got to do that. A lot of times there's like sickness in our families or whatever the hell is going on. Where does that line for you, or what do you, your perspective, I should say, of the personal responsibility, like the line in the sand that, this is where change starts. It's not like a light switch, but like,
Mhm.
what's your take on when we have to step up with our, when I say responsibility too, I want to be really responsible with that word, because that is it's has a lot of meaning for a lot of folks. I mean it just in the our ability to respond. That's all I mean. Like, when is that line for you, for the people that you work with, affect like how the changes go, become a system wide change in their life?
I think I understand. So, like, I guess in the sense of when do I guess where's my boundary in regards
Yeah.
to
Like, where's the line in the sand with all of it, as like, I'm not going to go take a pill. I'm going to like look
mm,
at why, or some variation of that. Sometimes you take a pill till you figure it out,
I
Like,
honestly, I have been blessed to where I'm very proactive with my health. So I remember my first health book, I was 14 years old, Barnes& and Noble, and it was this thick and all the natural remedies for whatever ails you. And so
hmm
I just always found that fascinating. And so when I have this long history of, I know that there's something that can fix me in this book. And so now I have like 30 of those books, but I know there's something in these books that can fix me.
yeah,
My thyroid was so swollen. I had never felt that before. And so I do also have the mentality of if something's happening to me, not only is it happening to other people, but it's happening to me because I need to learn about it. And so I learned about the thyroid and what causes that. And so I changed my diet for not even that long. I changed my diet for 30 days. I just added some iodine, sea moss, seaweed. My thyroid went down. I was back to normal. Where I would have gone to the doctor, they would have hyperthyroid,
yeah,
immediately put you on a pill. And the thyroid is a side effect of deeper issues. So you're now just treating a side effect. But I had already had that experience when my mom was sick. So I had known already that if you have, my mom was sick slash hypochondriac, I think, but I think they made her that way because they always gave her a pill for something. So she's like, "Oh, I'm getting a headache from this pill, so I'm not gonna take this pill." Like, "Oh, well, we'll just give you this pill to mask that headache that's giving you that pill because that pill is actually really important for you." And next thing you know, you're taking like 15 pills a day. And she didn't want to feel anything, at that point. She didn't want to feel any side effects. Dry mouth was bothering her. Like, I have had dry mouth. I've never had the insatiable, like, dry mouth to where it's like nothing quenches it. She had that. So now she had another pill for that. And so it got to the point when we started getting healthy with her and taking pills away or lowering milligrams, she got to the point where she would take a pill and she knew immediately what was going on in her body. Like she was just so in tune with her body that I can't take this pill anymore. So she would like not listen to the doctors anymore. She would tell the doctors like, no, I can't take that. Versus when she started this journey, she was just consuming whatever they told her because she trusted them. And so I think that's kind of the personal responsibility too, where I took back, like, okay, like we can do that too. It doesn't have to be on such an extreme scale. But if you're eating something and you're reacting, that's a side effect. It doesn't mean, oh, when I deal with it, you can do that. Or you can choose to just cut it out of your diet, or you can find out why is your body reacting to that thing, right? Because it's usually a reason that your body's reacting to
hmm
whatever it's reacting to, which is what awareness is coming about now.
yeah,
I mean, I know 2020 was a hard year, but I feel like people woke up that year.
yeah.
And
Still
so
waking
where
up.
stuff was I was talking about was like, okay, now it's like, tell me more. Like people are taking me on their doctor's appointments. I was like, this is awkward. But I get what you're trying to do because your health matters to you, you
Yeah,
know? And I appreciate those people because sometimes I see people and I see the side effects of what's going on internally because our bodies tell us bad acne is like a gut issue. Balding. People say, oh, you're balding because you're aging. No, you don't have to bald. There's something going on internally that is causing you premature hair, white hair. Like there's always something. Your body is telling you what's going on inside. So I'll see this and I want to tell people that's my boundary. Like I have to not just tell people like, "Hey, you need to cut back on the sugar," right? How do I hold space for people? And then sometimes I know people, I can't tell them anything. And so I just pray. I was like, please, that information come to you. It's not going to come from me because you're not going to listen to the messenger if it comes from me. And so I have to respectfully just wait. And then they say, and they'll bring it up to me like, I heard someone say this. I was like, oh, wow, that's great. I'm so glad you got that information because you needed that information. So it's hard to wait out. You have to see where that person is coming from. Are they in a
Yeah.
space where they are ready for that change? Or are they in a space where they just don't wanna hear it? Which is okay too, you know?
What shifts though when they decide to listen to their body?
Unfortunately, it's usually illness. It's usually a doctor visit. It's usually pain, it's discomfort. It's finally tired of feeling the way they feel.
Hmm.
And it's
That's
that's where I
interesting, isn't
want
it?
to be proactive. Like, if I can get to youth and teach them these ways before they feel that discomfort, then why
That's your
not?
mission. So from the time that you started this to like where you're at now, what feels stronger and clearer in you for you right now than it did at the beginning?
Honestly, clear is still it's kinda vague. I really don't know how I'm just building it.
But what
I
feels
don't know where
stronger
it's
though?
going.
What feels stronger?
Stronger is I wanna say is my commitment because
Okay.
I feel like it's I have a different mindset of endurance. It's a marathon, that's what I've been repeating to myself, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. There is no, "Oh, I made it." It doesn't seem like that's exist. So just letting go of that idea of this is the finish line has allowed me to just really enjoy the journey a lot more. I want them to know that every day is an opportunity to change a habit. Get rid of a bad habit. We build them up over our lifetime. Doesn't mean we have to keep them. You get to change it, remove it, and replace it with a good habit. And you don't have to wait for a new year. You don't have to wait for a new month. You don't have to wait for Monday. Just change one bad habit today.
I love that. And if anybody's looking at I've changed several bad habits. I'll just add that onto what you were saying since this is a conversation. Is that 3-3-3 rule. If you could do we can do anything for 3 days. We just can. And if we could do it for 3 days, we could do it for 3 weeks. And if we could do it for 3 weeks, we could do it for 3 months. That's how I quit smoking. That's how I quit eating sugar. That's how I anything that I wanted to change. That was the I first had that line in the sand, like what you were talking about, like that, like this can't keep going like this anymore. When the discomfort gets like crazy, and then realizing or me seeing that the screen that one day, that's how I shifted from what I was doing to like eating clean keto and sugar out and intermittent fasting in 3 days. Yeah, but that's what started that process was just that not commitment to the whole thing, but just that commitment for 3 days. It does something and it shifts something because we can do that. That's a given. But when you realize you're on the other side of the 3 days, it gives you something that gets you to the next spot.
It does. It's like little mini goals and little mini
Bite
accomplishments
sized.
that builds that confidence in us to just continue that path. And just to give like a different perspective too, is the creator of the universe, the one who holds everything together from imploding and exploding, everything, right? He created us. He created me, created you. So intricate, if you can take a biology class and find out about your cells and find out about your body and how it all works cohesively. Not a not a science class in high school, but a really fun just how your body works and how it's all just like a clock and it needs to be taken care of very delicately. And the fact that we're in a system that is consistently attacking us by water, by food, music, the programming that
Distractions.
they give us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the fact that they need to attack us on so many aspects of our life, our homes, our families, that just shows you how powerful one person is. If you knew how powerful your body was and how powerful your mind and your spirit were, I think you would respect it a lot more differently. It's
Thank
not
you for
something to
bringing
just take
that.
lightly.
awareness. Thank you for the communities that you're serving and sharing your story with us today. I really appreciate it. And I
My
know it'll make a
pleasure.
difference for people. Yeah, as they listen in. It's a great reminder that our body does keep score, but it also holds a blueprint for our recovery when
Yes,
we get
exactly.
all of that connected. And thanks for being an example of that today and sharing your story with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
It's my pleasure
Thank you
too.
for your work.
That's why 33 Conversations exist, is to explore the humans behind the what the missions that they're building and the courage that it takes to build those systems to actually support real people. And resilience isn't just a trendy thing or a trendy word. It's absolutely necessary for us to take on in our lives. So if you're listening today, take 15 minutes out of your day just to check in with yourself and your body and ask what it needs to hear from you, and stay quiet long enough to hear it and then do that thing. Thank you
Yes.
all for listening, and thank you all for subscribing. I'm so grateful for all of our listeners. Just go out and have a great day, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.